Okay, some final thoughts on the Rolling Stones' latest release, Foreign Tongues. Um, it's been out for about a month now, and my opinion of this album has evolved over the last month. It came out on July 10th, and the first track that came out was for Rough and Twisted, which was a blues rocker. And right now, I skip over it. I give it a miss now. Not that I dislike the tune, but the track really doesn't grab me like it used to. And tracks that didn't grab me, the first couple of listens, my gosh, they won't let me go. So one is in the stars, and I'd encourage everybody to watch that video. It's not AI, it's deepfake. I'm sorry, I can't recall the name of the band, but the band resembles the Rolling Stones, and they use images of Keith and Mick and the other band members and Ronnie to make them resemble them from the mid 70s when Ronnie joined the band in 75 or 76. I thought it was a neat trick. One thing about In the Stars, though, at the beginning I noticed some kind of distortion in the track. Do you guys hear that? But it really grabs me, and I start the album there. When I start it, Rough and Twisted comes on, and I hit fast forward, and I start the record there. Jealous Lover, when I first heard it, I went, oh dear God, do we have another Mick Jagger album here? Did nobody get Mick out of his own way? He describes some Rolling Stones records as, we've got 3 really good tracks, we have 5 okay tracks, and we have 5 mediocre tracks. And he described Hackney Diamonds, and he said before they put more effort into it and they brought Andy Watt in, it's what they look like they were having. Now, Hackney Diamonds did not turn out to be like that. It turned out to be a great recording. Do I like Foreign Tongues better than Hackney Diamonds? Night and day difference. This album really, for 2026, and the Rolling Stones in 2026, this album is a masterpiece. And I know a lot of people disagree because, well, I don't have to say it, but just say it. You're stuck in that moment where you discovered the Rolling Stones. I first discovered them in 1981 when Start Me Up came out, and that's when they grabbed me. And that's my favorite Stones track. Now, mind you, the album track I almost never listen to. It's the live versions of it that grab me. And I'll go through different eras and to hear which ones I like the best. Right now it's 2005 through 2007 are my favorite versions of Start Me Up. Salt Lake City right now is, to me, the greatest version ever, with the crunchy guitars and the guitar interplay, and they let, seems like they let Keith and Ronnie mix it. It wasn't, Mick Smith it, Mick mix it, and drop the guitars down to the bottom of the mix. Okay, but we're here to talk about Foreign Tongues. So, Jealous Lover, I love it, and you can really relate to that song. And if you hear Mick tell the story about how he's writing the song, he knows 5 chords on the piano, and he just, to use his language, noodles around with 5 chords, and he tells a story about Andy Watt calling him, and he drops the, I don't want to get slagged here, but he drops the F word, and you know, and he says, Andy, I gotta go, I'm writing a song, and Andy says, well, let me hear it. Oh, that's a good one, finish it off, and we get Jealous Lover, and I'll put it on repeat. I'm in love with it. Okay, and probably and still my favorite song on the record is Mr. Charm. And if you can look it up, look for them recording Mr. Charm on YouTube. It is a masterpiece because Andy Watt just says they just keep rolling, and you can even hear it at the beginning of the album, at the beginning of the track. You'll hear the drummer Steve Jordan going, "Are we rolling?" And they start playing the song, and I'm surprised at seeing Andy Watt go up to each individual musician as they're playing. And for example, Ronnie Wood, he'll point at the guitar. I don't know what he wants. Does he want a lead? Does he want a chord? He does the same thing with Steve Winwood. He'll point at notes on a notepad on top of the piano. He'll go to Keith and do something similar. And then he talks about how they recorded this, Andy, and there's another video where how Andy and Mick recorded the song, and it's a 4 on the 4, 4 on the floor, which is a beat. Miss You is 4 on the floor, and Mick was writing songs, and he called it Dance Day or Dance Day, and Mr. Charm. And when you get the behind-scenes story on it, by far, my favorite track on the album. I play it again and again and again. After that is Divine Intervention. I really haven't changed much my opinion on that. It's okay. And you'll hear Ronnie Wood talk about how he got the music down and how he recorded it with Mick. What do you guys think of Divine Intervention? Is it your least favorite? Is it a filler track? Could the album done without it? And then my next favorite one is Ringing Hollow, the country song. And you know, it's funny, it's in the same place mid-album as it is on Hackney Diamonds. It's a great break where they add that song at that time. And it's a song about Mick Jagger's love affair with America. You know, I fell in love with you before we even met, right? I watched all your movies. I smoked all your cigarettes. And how they put quarters in a jukebox and what have you. And about how maybe the relationship is soured between the band or Mick Jagger and America with the current state of affairs. I don't want to go political, but that could just be 60 years of age, a difference. You know, they were 20 when they came the first time, and now they're in their 80s, and they're being reminiscent between that. Ringing Hollow, I put that on a heavy repeat, or I'll cue up the album and just play that. And especially if I'm on vinyl, I'll get up and replay the track. And I haven't driven my wife crazy with it yet, which is a good sign, because I did that with the country song on Hackney Diamonds, Dreamy Skies. Never Want to Lose You. I quite like it now. I really wasn't a big fan of it. I played it. I dug it, and it was okay. But the surprise now for me is Hit Me in the Head, specifically after you hear Keith talk about how the song was recorded, and it has Charlie Watts on drums, and he jokes around and calls it, it's an invitation from Mick to come and, hit me in the head to, to touch on the relationship, the friction that they have sometimes. And while they were talking about recording the album, Mick gave Keith some credit. He said, I wrote the song and it needed a better riff, and Keith came up with the better riff. And he went, that's the way it goes sometimes. So I think that's a big help, that the Glimmer Twins, that Mick and Keith actually record in the studio. I think it's a great blend now where, they do the demo track, and then they bring what they have to the studio, and then they cut it, and Keith adds that special riff, that special magic, and then Ronnie and Keith do that ancient form of weaving. And I notice stuff all the time with weaving, and I've used my headphones, I listen on vinyl, I'll listen on high res, and I'm always hearing something different on different songs, and it's becoming a new song, a new record, or a new album all over again. And then, I'm No Good, the Amy Winehouse track, Sublime is the best way I can describe that. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but the way Mick sings on it is, he's picked a great vocal style. I listen to it, and even my wife will point out that that's a unique version to sing it out. And as I said the first time, Mick playing the harp for what were horn sections on Amy Winehouse's version was a brilliant choice, and I just can't get enough of it. I don't rewind it much. I don't fast forward to it much, because I anticipate it. I anticipate the track as we get closer to it, and I'm like, there it is, and I really enjoy it. So it's like a treat, Do you remember when, before the album would come out and a new single would come out, and we'd listen to the radio and we would try to call in and request it? That's what it's like. You're listening, you're waiting for it, boom, there it is. And it's a shame we lost Amy so long ago. Side Effects, it's catchy. I didn't really care for it much. I don't want to say I've done night and day switch on it, but I don't fast forward over it, and I like it, and I look for the ancient form of weaving and what have you with it, and I don't fast forward over it, like I said. Back in Your Life. Now, I call this the song to close out the album, and Brian Wilson had just died, and Ronnie Wood talks about how the lead wrote itself. He was just a channel through the guitar, and it's just beautiful. And I really hope, how we got Bigger Bang bootlegs, I really hope we get those at some point. Some disgruntled Rolling Stone employee gets us those, or we get an extended take on it. Beautiful Delilah, the Chuck Berry song, I like it, but to me it's a bonus track. I understand why Andy Watt put it at the end of the album. It's an obvious influence on the Stones, just like how they did Rolling Stone Blues. Like he said, hey, we got to get a version of this in the can, and One thing that's still up my behind a little bit is the bonus track on Apple, Bad Luck Hideaway. And I liken that track to if the Stones hung out with Jimmy Buffett. They ran to each other on a weekend or on a trip to the Bahamas, and they hung out by the pool, and this is the song that we'd get. What song should have been dropped from, if any, what song should have been dropped from Foreign Tongues to make room for this bonus track on Apple? Another pet peeve is every track on Foreign Tongues could be bought separately on Apple Music except Bad Luck Hideaway, and you had to buy the whole album. Now, even though Apple says they offer high-res lossless music, which is a good thing, it's better than what they had before, the sound quality is terrible on it. And so when I've created what I call local files on my phone to play it back, and I'll play it in the car, and I know it's coming at the end. I love this song. I love the song, and then I feel the friction that this sounds horrible compared to the rest of the album. Do you guys want to see Bad Luck Hideaway released on another as a single, and then another B-side? Would you like to see that song eventually released in real high res, be it Qobuz, be it Tidal, be it Amazon Music and high res? If Mick and Keith, you see this, this is my full-throated ask for Bad Luck Hideaway in real quality, or release it on a CD single. I'd buy it, and maybe release the little live show that you and Ronnie did as a pre-release party for Foreign Tongues. You did that with Hackney Diamonds when they played at that little bar in New York City. One of the best versions of Jumpin' Jack Flash ever. Released that in soundboard quality as a, I don't know, B-side, or that has to be on vinyl, but please release Bad Luck Hideaway in proper quality versus that horrible Apple SBA or whatever they call their high-res music. Okay, what do you guys think of Foreign Tongues, that now that it's 4 weeks old and we've got it under our belts? Was it like bubblegum? You know, you chewed it up, and when you lost the flavor of it, you spit it out and you didn't bother with it after that? Or is it still on heavy repeat on your playlist or at home? And what are you playing it on? I find I'll use Amazon Music in the car. I've also recorded my high-res vinyl. What a challenge that was. And then I managed to get that to my computer, and that's what I use when I play it locally, or what I call a local file. I'll play it through my headphones, on my phone, on my digital audio player, or through anything that I can put an SD card in, or there's enough space. If I'm sitting at home, I almost never use streaming anymore. I find the compression just a bit too much. And I'll either use the local files on my digital audio player and do a direct Wi-Fi beam, I call it, to my Ever Solo streamer. Or if it's late at night, nothing better, come downstairs, turn the lights off, and play Foreign Tongues on the, I've got the yellow vinyl, I've got the green one, and I've also got the Spider-Man one. I never opened the Spider-Man one. So my favorite experience is with vinyl because it's intentional listening. You're sitting down, you have to interact with the album. You have to pull it out of the sleeve, put it on the turntable, give it a quick little clean, and then listen for the song and for the side to be over, get up and switch it. And it makes you really nostalgic for it, for those days that, when we were younger. So, yeah, Foreign Tongues. What are your thoughts? 40, what is that, a month later? So, I may have some further thoughts later on, but I just thought I'd share some stuff with you now, and tell us what you guys think. Go to the Bleep Bloop in the comments and tell us what you think of Foreign Tongues. Have you found something different that inspired you like that? Or did it inspire you to go back to some old Rolling Stones albums? You went, oh yeah, man, the Rolling Stones loved them. What album or tracks did you go back to? Okay, I hope wherever you are today, you get to listen to some good music. Remember, the most important thing in our lives is our family, and let them know what they mean to you. Okay, cheers everybody.